On-set horror stories or horror? Horror.
Horror stories.
A horror story would be horror. Oh yes, one of my. I just sound very Asian.
Porn set horror stories are really bad because you're dealing with bodily fluids and personal hygiene usually, or really bad attitude.
Anyone who wasn't prepared or didn't know what they were doing or just like didn't want to be there and was just in a grumpy mood or something.
Usually all the horror stories start with some girl being an entitled little cunt and showing up and thinking that the world revolves around her asshole.
I worked with this girl one time that was like super just terrible. Like she had terrible hygiene. She had shown up late. She was super... I'll just say loopy because that sounds nice. And she just wasn't good. And so it was that girl, and then I had this guy who was like, ugh, like super douchey, like, ugh, like that. That's all the noise I can think of. But like, he sucked really bad too and just kept talking about how he was a swinger with his girlfriend and he liked to watch his friends fuck his girlfriend. And I was just like, where am I? Get me out of here. I hate both of these people.
Nothing like crazy. Like, I mean, I've fallen down and hurt myself, and I've like landed with my ass on cameramen before.
There was this guy that I worked with. So my horror story with him actually is the fact that I kept telling him, put more lube on that glass toy when we were starting our anal scene, and he wouldn't. He tore me 5 minutes in.
I did one that was pretty crazy. When I was in Europe, it was, in fact, it was one of my first boy-girl shoots ever. I think it was like my third one, and it was a shibari shoot, so I was completely tied. And you know, for this kind of shoots, there's a limit for being suspended because your body, it hurts, of course. You are full covered in ropes and it hurts. So I told them that I could stand it for not more than 20 minutes, you know, like suspended, not touching the floor. And they left me 1 fucking hour, like in a suspension. And when I came back to the floor, all my both hands were purple. And I was freaking out, like really, really big purple. I was like, I'm gonna lose my hands because of you. I hate you.
I've gotten shit like this close to my face.
I had an agent who stole my social security number.
I had a personal porn set horror story when I got a golf ball stuck in my ass.
I have really one, but it's so graphic. It involves shit and blood and yeah, that's okay. Okay, girl was on her period. It was a reality scene. She said she couldn't put a sponge in. Had a tampon in. They were filming it. She pulled it out, threw it across the yard. Dog went and ate it. Director saying to me, "We're gonna roll with this." I'm like, okay. Start having sex. There's blood everywhere. She realizes it, hops off, licks it up, trying to hide it. She's licking coagulated blood. Director says, "We can't shoot this, there's too much blood." So she says, "I have an idea. I can't put a sponge in, but we can do anal." She didn't prep for anal, so she shit on me. Realized she had done it, and it was like soupy. She hopped up, ran into the kitchen, got vanilla ice cream out of the freezer, came back, thought that if she smeared that all over it, it would cover it up, and then licked that off. The director cut, sent everybody home, paid me for the day. We didn't even finish the scene, and it was the most horrifying thing I've ever experienced.
I do have an on-set horror story. This one time, I was stretching before a scene, and I like moved my leg to the side, and my knee completely popped out of socket.
One time, a guy came on my ass and I broke out in a rash. That was weird. I think it was because he was on steroids, honestly.
One day, at the end of the scene, the rest of the crew, they were packing up, and I was in the kitchen, like getting dressed and filling out the paperwork, and they had this like weird PA that was on set with them. He didn't say a word to me the whole time we shot. Like, I thought, you know, he didn't even notice me, whatever. He comes into the kitchen with his dick in his hand, like jerking off and looking at me. And he's like, just touch it. He was European. Just touch it. One time, just touch. I just was not expecting that. Like, I turn around to some guy jerking off and like looking at me weird. Like, he had a weird look in his eye. I was trying to look around to see if anyone was around, so I just said, no, really loudly, and that kind of spooked him. So he like put it in and he left. But yeah, I haven't seen him ever again. Thank God. Because that just creeped me the fuck out.
I was booked for a girl, and it was up in Mount Holland area, and this is terrible. Like, here I am, you know, driving up there, and I cannot find for the life of me the location. I just can't. And I'm texting my girlfriend who had, you know, texted me. She's waiting there, and you know, she's going, where are you? And I'm early. But I didn't know where she was, and she's almost there. She goes, look, the location's right here. It's right here. And I'm going, dude, I can't find it. Well, then I went, I found it. I pull in, and the door's unlocked. And this couple is sitting on the couch, you know, laid back. The lady's legs are like this on the guy, and they're like they're about to get it on. But they're talking. You know, as loud as I am. And I went, shh, guys, they're shooting upstairs. Because they looked at me and they went, who are you? And I'm like, shh, they're shooting upstairs. Oh my God, your dog is so cute. And here I am, talking to my girlfriend. I went, hey, I'm here. Where are you? She goes, I don't see you. I'm out back. And I'm like, and they're all like, who are you looking for? And I'm like, where are you? I'm in someone else's house, aren't I? I'm at the wrong location, aren't I? And these two people are complete strangers, aren't they? She goes, yeah. I went, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. All of a sudden, that fucking dog that was all cool became not cool. It was Cujo. Fucking like, what the fuck? You were all cool. The two people were like, oh my God, calm down. I'm all like, dude, get your fucking dog off me. It's like biting at my leg. The guy's like, I'm sorry. The woman is like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry for breaking into your house.
That was my first messy BJ scene. And obviously I didn't have much experience back then. So I ate a really big breakfast. And when he put his cock down my throat, I just puke. I just everywhere orange juice. Okay, so no orange juice if you're gonna give a deep throat, okay? So the orange juice was everywhere. And I was just like, oh my God, I just puke on set. It was on camera. I mean, he seemed like he deal with it, you know, before. But I think it was just kind of embarrassing for me. Like, oh my God.
I had the flu one time during an anal scene. And, it was a very small. It was like a, what do they call it? It was a tiny shardy. It was a mash nugget. It was a tiny shardy mash nugget. Okay, that doesn't make it any less embarrassing, so whatever, poop everywhere, yes.
When you think you're gonna get to go to Brazil on a nice, like, porno-laden vacation and spend time in a cool villa, and instead you end up in Brazil in what appears to be an internment camp without Wi-Fi, hot water, plus electrical wires hanging in the shower, in a mosquito-ridden part of Ubatuba without any phone or contact anywhere after your cell phone charging port burns out and then your laptop dies. We did film scenes, and I almost got paid for all of them.
While I was on set, we actually had about 20 cop cars show up in front of the house, and the director at the time was terrified. Everyone was scared because we all thought we were about to get arrested. And the director, though, was freaking out, pacing back and forth. No one leave the house, no one leave the house. It was literally like they locked down the house and there was a bunch of cops all around the house surrounded. And I was there with a good girlfriend of mine, Danny Daniels, and me and her looked at each other and I was like, fuck this. I'm not gonna stay here with all of these people and act like I'm guilty. I'm not guilty. They hired me to show up. I didn't do shit wrong. So me and her were like, we grabbed our stuff, and she was, at first we were like, so should we book it? Like, should we like hop over the fence, you know? And that's at first what we were going to do, but we had so much luggage, we were like, okay, we can't do that. She goes, we just gotta own this. And so Danny, of course, she's all like, yeah, hey, just saying hi, waving to them and everything. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I gotta just go to the car. Just go to the car. Be quiet. Don't even look at him. So yeah, that's what I did. That was a scary experience.
My worst porn horror story was one day I showed up on set and I was walking towards the bathroom and I smelt what smelled like rotting tuna. Not even in the bathroom yet. And I walked in and my female talent had her leg up on the sink and she was wiping her pussy with a Summer's Eve wipe, which smells great. So I was like, okay, hopefully that'll fix that. Other than that, I'm freaking out and I don't think I can do this. Well, she left the room and the smell lingered for a good several minutes. And I was brushing my teeth and whatnot, and I was texting my friend, oh my god, I don't know if I can do this. I think this girl has BV. I'm not really sure. Hopefully, maybe it was someone else, or hopefully the wipes will take the smell away from her actual pussy. Well, we got out to where we were shooting, and I was laying on my back, so that position was no longer, we couldn't just put her on her back. So she was in doggy, and she opened her ass cheek and there was just crusted blood all over her ass and hairs from her head sticking all over her asshole. And she queefed in my face and it smelled like bloody bacterial vaginosis, and I almost died. But I managed to eat her out because I refused to embarrass anyone by saying anything. And my nose was right in her bloody asshole, and I realized when I looked up at her hair that it was actually very greasy and she likely had not showered in about 3 or 4 days.
One time I did a bondage one, and instead of like just putting like a gag in, like normally most people like productions, like you just put it in and it's fine, but he was a real fetishist, so he was sticking cloth down my throat and I clenched the teeth so he wouldn't stick it any further. Then he took the tape really tight to the point where it's hurting that I had to actually ask him to stop twice and tell him that's like too much cloth. And then the next day for like a whole week my jaw was killing me because I had clenched it so much. And I also had to do like I had to do blowjobs for people who had really big penises the day after and the day after that.
We did this scene where we're in the bathtub, and it was the balloon fetish thing that we were doing, and it was a brand new girl. And so we got out of the bathtub, and we were playing with the balloons, and we start scissoring. And so we're holding ourselves up, and she railed me and like hit me so hard that I fell, and I slipped and I like sprained my wrist.
Just when I was having my orgasm, one of the cameras fall into my face, like literally into my face. So I cover myself and I break one of my nails in the worst position ever. And one of my fingers was bleeding for like half an hour before we could continue the shoot. And yeah, that was pretty interesting.
This one time, I was shooting for Reality Kings in Miami, and we had a foursome with all girls, and I was going down on this bitch, and like I was like going like pretty like hard or whatever, and next thing I know, her period starts all over my face, and it wasn't light either. Literally, it was like a fucking waterfall.
Oh man, it was back in the day. It was a butt slammers movie. And we had these mini bar stools that had a cock, like a dildo, probably nailed into it, and I'm covered in oil. I'm having sex with 2 other girls. I'm on top of the stool, and I'm bouncing up and down, and I'm fucking it, and the fucking cock broke off of the stool inside of me, and I fell off of the table in front of everybody, lube all over my face, all over my hair, and they left it in the movie.
There was a friend of mine who's a female director, so she got a girl, the girl arrived at the location, she said, hey, good, how's it going? Here's your paperwork. It was an anal scene. So she said to the girl, here's your enema. When you're done with your makeup, you go ahead to the bathroom and do your enema. It's for you. The girl says, oh yeah, okay, great. And so she comes back to the girl after quite a bit of time, and the girl's in makeup, and she sees that the enema bottle is empty. And she says to the girl, oh, did you end up already in the restroom, and did you already do your enema? Because it looks like you've been in makeup. Your makeup's almost done. And the girl says to my friend, oh, that? Yeah, I drank that already. I'm good to go. And the girl, needless to say, she drank the solution, which you don't even put that in your ass, puked, and like the scene tanked. And I guess that makeup artist never got hired again, because why would you watch a fucking girl drink an enema? That's like some serious sadism right there. That's my favorite on set. But there are so many good on set porn horror stories.